Hello and welcome to the Paul Petronella channel. Today, how to make an oil painting. Sounds simple. It's just a fun thing to do. My name is Paul Petronella. I'm an illustrator, and today we're doing oil on canvas. 24 by 36. It's a painting of my friend Annette Vallone-Raccio. I photographed her wedding at the Rainbow Room, Rockefeller Center in Manhattan, and she had a beautiful wedding, St. Patrick's Cathedral, and then right across the street to a Rockefeller Center for her wedding in the Rainbow Room. So I did this painting. It took me about 50 hours to do over a span of 12-15 days and throughout about less than a month. I just went at it a couple of days straight, 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, and it kind of went well. Like I started with drawings, then I went right on the canvas with oil paint, no pencil or anything, no grid lines. I didn't follow any real structure of the photo. I kind of just went with the flow, and I kind of hit the canvas all white and a little bit of gray, try to get a hint of the background. Then I started with my characters right away, try to set up like a balance and design. And I wanted to have, which I usually do in almost every painting, I try to have a void in the middle. Something directly in the middle does not get your attention in almost all of my paintings, because I want your eye to move around the canvas and sort of pick your own little story that you would want to tell about what's happening in this painting. There's dancers, a man and a woman. It happens to be a bride and a groom, and they came out to this beautiful wedding in the Rainbow Room, and I made the background kind of look like a rainbow, but mostly I made it look like a Radio City Music Hall across the street, where the bride was going to be a rockette, and she decided to open her own business and have a dance studio instead. Landrum in Whitestone that she owns, and so she came out to do her first dance with the violin players from the band. Behind the band there was this perfect balcony above the band, and I ran up the steps over the band, and I had this nice high vantage point, and I clicked the picture of the dance. And then I could come down, run down, and be close, in where all the action is. It's just like a kind of trying to do a happy, cheerful thing. I don't want to do the usual doom and gloom, gloomy, glum paintings that I love so much. Dreary, mysterious paintings, expressionism, and surrealism, and usually they're not the happiest. They could have a sense of humor, but they're not happy. So this one, believe it or not, is about as happy as it gets. Even though I tried leaving in some sort of creepy looking hooded characters, monk characters, alien looking people, I try to leave them in other paintings, but I think they all got erased in the end. And for more glamorous, high society people, I don't know, a little bit more sterilized than I usually like. But I did keep a couple of aliens in the top, or I made them, this couple of characters, even though I didn't want to get too much into characters. Faceless mannequin, hairless. You don't see any sexuality in any of the characters except the bride. I purposely kept out showing body parts, trying not to get too much attention from anyone in the background. I mean, if they could look a little bit like mannequins, I'm happy with that. And if they could look a little bit character, I made, of course, male, female, and I didn't want it to go too much further. A couple of them I left kind of androgynous. It's just a beautiful place, the Rainbow Room, Rockefeller Center. She's choreographer, and this was her dance. So here we are at the wedding, 58 and a half people. Yes, a lot of people to paint. I got the idea. I said, I want to do another painting because I sold one of my paintings that I made of a Greek wedding. I wanted to do a painting of dancers. So I immediately thought of the Matisse painting of these dancers holding hands in a circle. And I said, that looks like one of my Greek customers dancing at their wedding. So I took the photo, tried to give it a modern twist, like I'm not putting the faces in or hair or any. No one has any hair. For some reason, I love black and white. I could add a little bit of color at any time, but it would just be very muted colors if I did it. Usually I use straight turpentine when I paint, oil paint with turpentine, and it becomes nice and flat, no gloss. But this time I added some oil because I wanted it to stay wet a little longer so I could clean it up, go in there and clean it up real quick. I don't just start in the upper right hand corner and work my way across like some people do. Some people start very detailed right off the bat. Just go with the flow. I don't even put pencil lines. Like, I'd rather not have a grid. I'd rather not even have a pencil line underneath because that sort of wastes a little bit of time getting rid of the pencil lines. So I went straight, put white oil paint on the canvas, like did a background, and threw a little gray in there, and then it's back and forth, like hopping around all over wherever I see something that looks like a messy brush stroke. I try to go and clean it up so you don't see any texture. I don't like people seeing any brush texture. Trying to sit back and see what's happening. Maybe it's like I'm doing all these figures, maybe some of them automatically something interesting happens to them right away, where you don't want to really mess it up. You want to kind of leave it. So these characters that are in the background that right now look good to me as spooky, like alien characters, I unfortunately am going to cover them up and make them look more, elegant. At it every day for like 3 days. Then I took a break for about a week, went back to it, did about another 3 or 4 days, then took another little break and then wrapped it up. But just black and white oil paint, and it hasn't been, even though I added oil to the turpentine, it's still, since it's so thin, the layer of the paint is so thin, the next day it's dry. A couple of hours, it's not staying wet for more than, 10 hours, I guess. 12, a little more maybe in thick spots. But I guess I put it on so thin, it just dries up on me, and I don't have a chance to smudge it. I try to make something look a little bit original. You know, you try to come up with some kind of original idea. But the Art Students League is where I met a lot of people. And they're professional artists, and you know, it becomes a job and it's work too. And the pay, you know, even when you're a successful artist that sells, you don't really make enough to pay the mortgage, you know, let's face it. And then if other people just sell a couple of paintings here and there, and you know, you get all excited and you whatever. But it's you know, just a passion. Went into photography. You know, I studied art, and now I love photography. And I paint whenever I have an idea, something I want to do. Even though I'm very fortunate that I have a studio and a storefront business that I could work in, this picture was a nice size where I did it right in my apartment. And, you know, it was very comfortable. You sit down, have something to eat, you look at it, go to sleep, you wake up, and it's, you know, it's right there in front of you all the time. So I always prefer painting in my apartment. You know, when you're an artist, you also have to be like a businessman, business person. You know, you have to sell yourself, which is hard to do, you know, without, you know, you sound very pompous saying that. I never use the word artist to call myself an artist because you feel funny, pretentious. I'm very happy with it. The violins were fun. It was, I was glad that there were violins. And the people in the background, I had to modify a bit because I didn't want to paint anyone with too much detail. And I didn't want to paint anyone that's holding a camera. I live here in Manhattan, and I look out at all these beautiful Art Deco towers, and I guess I'm influenced by them. And then the Rainbow Room is Art Deco, and I think it has that sort of style, even though I just wanted to do these faceless, hairless, minimalistic character. Don't give away too much about the person's identity or style. Just try to leave it like a blank mannequin person. It's a mannequin person. So I think everything went well. It didn't take me too long. I kind of was having problems with some of the brushes. But I have to just buy new brushes. Just kind of work through different challenges you have in the piece. And it's, you sit back, you go, like maybe, I like to, since I'm not doing it for a living, I'm lucky enough to be a photographer, a videographer, and I do painting mostly as a hobby now. And then sometimes I get commissioned, and then sometimes the commissions that people want to give me, I don't even want to do them. I want to do whatever I want to do. Like someone wanted me to paint grape leaves on their ceiling of their kitchen. And I'm like, oh my God, I could never paint, 100 leaves on someone's, I would go crazy. And especially on the ceiling where you have to kind of go on your back. I would do it in the studio and glue it up. Like I did all my ceilings. Painted my whole apartment is complete murals, like paintings. The ceilings are covered with canvas. And my whole apartment is painted like Gothic. It's a Gothic style, because that's where I live here in an old Tudor Gothic building, and I have that kind of, I like antiques. This painting is sort of like an antique. I wanted it to look a little bit like an antique painting. Well, my favorite paintings are from the 1920s, the Surrealists, and this is sort of a Surrealist painting. It's a 1920s Surrealist painting style, which is where I like to be, actually. I like to be in that era of the 1920s, before the war. And Surrealism doesn't really fit neatly into art history. And Surrealism is sort of a branch where just a couple of people, Salvador Dali, Magritte, all those people who were famous then, and then it was over. It was just a style. And then it evolved, and of course you still see Surrealism in advertising and art, in art. I mean, I'm lucky enough to live here in New York City, where there's thousands of galleries now. All the galleries in Chelsea, underneath the High Line, if you know where the High Line is in Chelsea, and in the 20s, from like 25th Street down to about 17th Street, 1 block from the Hudson River, you'll find loads and loads of brand new galleries, and you'll always see something that you have never seen before. If you go to those galleries, it's always been that case where, you see something for the first time you never thought of. The making of painting, and this is something that I really wanted to do for a long time. I love making videos, and I've tried a couple of times to videotape myself painting, and it's hard to videotape yourself doing any project, because the project usually is compromised. To have someone come and videotape you and do, so that's what I usually do. I am the guy who goes out and videotapes other people. So to do it for myself is rough. So this one came out, it's okay. It came out, I would like to have had a couple of more close-ups, but since I hop all over the place, I feel more comfortable painting when I just hop around from the one side to another side to a different brush. I just usually load up 2 brushes, a light one and a dark. a light brush and a dark brush. And I just go back and forth, light, dark, and I try to just keep cleaning up. And then there's always adjustments you make, like sometimes the people look too tall, and sometimes who looks too thin, who's a little bit distorted. And you're trying to fix up. Sometimes you have to redo something, like this is in the wrong spot, and this person is interfering, with the design, it is interfering with that person, and this doesn't fit. So then you have to make decisions about your balance and your design. Like a little bit worried about introducing color lately, because I don't, know where I'm going to hang it. So if someone is going to buy this picture, then I could add the color of their couch. If you really want me to, I'll put in some color to match the person's room. And for now, for my room, I would like to add in, I could go right in there now and add in very light blue in the sky, and light, like warm beige, golden tones here and there, throw a little flesh tone very subtly, a little deep blue in the black gowns, and I could add subtle colors. That's what I have in some previous paintings, but I don't know why I think I want to just keep this black and white. I like it black and white. And it's more like a photo. It's a painting taken from a photo. This has 58 people in it, and the photo has to have like 90 people in it, 80 or 90 people in this background of this photo. And I couldn't do them all because the canvas is too small, really. If the canvas was bigger, see, I don't have a problem doing 58 people, but I rather have a huge canvas of a couple of feet, like 6 foot by 2.5 feet is probably my ideal size for a painting like this. But this is 36 by 24 because I'm hoping to sell it and fit right on top of someone's furniture, or on top of their couch, and that's why it's horizontal. I try to listen to what people want. When I would show in galleries, I always liked my paintings to be vertical, portrait style, for gallery. So I would paint with the gallery in mind, and when I had shows, I would just paint the paintings for the gallery, so they weren't fitting in people's houses that well, I thought, So now, I'm trying to accommodate people going with horizontal painting. It was a beautiful wedding, and I wanted to do a painting of it. So it worked out beautiful, where it's a nice painting, and I display the painting in my studio. I have my photography studio, John Warren Wright Photography Studio. It's been in Flushing, Queens for over 80 years, since 1935. I own it 30 years. I own the studio, and I keep this painting out there, and that's where I sold the last one. Well, that's about it. This painting is done. The Making of an Oil Painting by Paul Petronella. Thank you so much for watching.